Good morning, team. Thanks so much for joining us. We are really excited because this morning on Coffee, we've got a great episode with two fabulous proper rate loan officers. But we also want to take this moment to say thank you. Thank you to all of you who are working with proper rate lenders. We know it's a great partnership, and we know that the lenders proper rate has are the best of the best. But we really appreciate you supporting them and making sure they help create success for you and your business.
That's right. And speaking of partnership, we know it's important to have the right partner when it comes to lending, when it comes to choosing an attorney that you're going to suggest to your clients. We know proper rate fits the bill. We know that the relationship with proper rate ensures that you're going to be able to support your clients getting to the finish line. So not only thank you for supporting proper rate, but thank you for taking great care of your clients.
That's right. So on that note, let's get into this fabulous episode of Coffee with Aimee and Kevin. Want to do it?
Let's do it.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers. Good morning, team. Thank you so much for joining us. It is Tuesday, May 24th. I'm Aimee Corr, and I'm joined by Kevin Van Eck, and we're live out of the Goose Island office. We're very excited this morning because we've got two great guests joining us as we talk and get deeper into what's going on in the market. So grab your coffee, your tea, your Trenta green tea, green tea latte. You'll learn more about that in a minute. And let's jump into the next episode of Coffee with Aimee and Kevin.
That's right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Good morning, Aimee.
Good morning.
And as Aimee mentioned, we have two special guests with us today from Proper Rate, who is our partner here in the Chicagoland market for mortgage lending. So we have joining us today Aimee Renkes and also Mike Gambatese, who are going to share with us a couple of their perspectives in what's happening in the market, how we can be more effective with our clients and communicate and set expectations so everyone knows what they're getting into so we can create success for those same clients.
That's right. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
And Aimee,
Thank you.
Please do tell us about your morning
Ritual.
wake up drink. Yes.
So this is a 30-ounce Trenta green tea lemonade. So it's basically my take on an Arnold Palmer. I use green tea instead.
Love it.
And this is how I fuel my day because I don't drink coffee.
I love it. And then Mike's he said he's Italian, so he just,
I
can't
have
hold a
anything
coffee.
else. I've already had my coffee, which is just regular black coffee.
All right. I love it. Well, we really appreciate the two of you joining us. I've known both of you personally for a long time and have had the opportunity to interact and work with both of you. And, the last week we were really talking with a lot of our agents about inflation, affordability, and appreciation, all things that really tie into the mortgage environment. So we're really excited to have two great experts today to just really help us get a better insight into lending, mortgages, what we're going to be seeing, and how agents out there can really support their clients in the climate right now. So let's jump in. First question. Can one of you tell us a bit about rising rates and that environment that we're in right now, the current economic outlook, and really what do we see happening with rates with the remainder of 2022?
Yep, absolutely. So unless you've been under a rock, you know that rates have gone up about 2% so far this year. What we expect really is that the Federal Reserve is taking action, as we're hearing. They're hiking rates. Now, that's not mortgage rates, that's the Fed funds rate, but they're trying to do things to curb inflation, which right now is hot at about 8.5%. So as the Fed is doing that, they're hiking interest rates. Inflation is high, and I'll tell you what, there's historical precedents that when we're in this kind of cycle, mortgage rates will go down. Now, I'm not talking next week or next month, but we do expect that by next year, interest rates will be lower than they presently are. So I know we're definitely talking with our buyers that this is a two loan transaction that we're having. We're going to help you buy a home, and then do expect us to be in touch with you next year for a refinance. But right now, you have to make sure you're comfortable with the payment with the rates where they are right now.
But that's really good news. So it's really kind of still for buyers, get into the market if you can with the idea or hope that 6 to 12 months from now, they are going to have a nice opportunity to refinance into a better rate.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That's great. That's good news.
Yeah. So there is a mental toll, right? When we talk about both agents and clients, when they look at the rates, they read the headlines, inflation, all of these things. So what is that? What is the impact on, as you're talking with clients and agents, on their mental state?
Yeah. Well, I think we have to be kind of a constant cheerleader for the market because, Chicago real estate has always been a good investment, right? So usually during inflationary periods, people tend to look towards real estate because it's a hard asset and it's typically a good investment. So, we kind of talk about that with our clients a lot, but, it's, certainly kind of a stressful time, and people, buyers are losing out simply because of the shortage of inventory and a lot of, the competitive market. But that's why it's even more important for the agents to be working with lenders who understand that and also can navigate through this market, and also kind of communicate with buyers that this is, historically, even though interest rates have gone up recently, that historically interest rates are still very low. As recently as 15 years ago, we were at 6.5% on a 30-year fixed. So it's really not the end of the world, given where interest rates are now. So we just kind of work with our agents and make sure that they understand and that their buyers understand that this is just really just a snapshot in time.
And I think another positive piece that I like to look at is housing is a really safe investment. So as it looks like we are approaching a recession, that's a real concern. I think a lot of people still remember very vividly 2008 and 2009 and beyond, and are scarred from that. So as we're talking with buyers, I also like to look back, and we share this data, which we have a slide for, that in the past 9 recessions, so dating back to 1960, only once did home prices decrease. Every other time through a recession, home prices increased. And the one that caught us was the 0809 because it was caused by the housing and mortgage industry. Yeah.
Sure.
So it's trying to help people wrap their minds around that. Maybe they had a foreclosure or a short sale, or they know someone who did, or someone who was stuck in their home. So helping them to understand it's okay to be concerned, but history is on our side. Precedence is here. And at that time, wasn't inventory at like 9 months or something like that?
Yep.
What are we at right now? Under 2 months of inventory? So there's just not that overabundance of inventory that helped lead into that recession.
Well,
So-
also, the equity that people have in their homes right now is at an all-time high too. It's almost 40%. So where in 08, 09, that wasn't the case.
Right.
Right. It's hard because you do have to look at history, but there is that one moment, but it is an education, and I think that's what we're saying to so many of our agents is a lot of people are afraid of this word, the bubble, because we saw that in 08, but this is a new and different market with its own nuances and different challenges. But I think it's important, to your point too, to remember that real estate is really a long game. And what I love is the most promising is that you might have to get in a little high right now to get the house you want, but there is going to be hope where you can readjust, your payments with over time the market getting more favorable with rates, which I think is really key. So I want to ask you this because I think it's so important. Let's talk about best practices because I think that there are ones for agents, for lenders, but what are the best practices for agents to really guide and educate their buyers right now? What would you share with the agents out there?
So you guys talk about this all the time on your talks about the agent being like a concierge level business, right? So we truly see the agent as the quarterback of the team, right? So we consider ourselves to be a part of that team. So I think it's really important for the real estate agents to make sure that they're working with the right people that are going to educate their buyers and are going to really work with their buyers to understand the kind of nuances of the market right now. And I think right now, your lending partner is even more important than we ever have been because of that. Not only do you need to be available and you need to have competitive rates and pricing and all of that, but you also need to be able to kind of help people and educate people about what's going on now. So I think the agent can really be fundamental in that because just having a typical pre-approval or things like that is just not enough anymore.
Right.
So what we're doing now is we're actually going one step further and working with people and getting a loan fully approved as they're going out and looking for property so that they can be one leg up to the competition. So when they make an offer, they can actually say to the listing agent, listen, this buyer here is not just pre-approved. They've actually been approved for a mortgage. So all we're waiting for is the contract, the title, and we can get this thing closed quickly. So that's how we're kind of helping our agents give their buyers a leg up.
Right. I think the critical part is anyone can get a pre-approval online, right? But is that person going to be available to you as the buyer and you as the agent, right? I mean, how many offers are due on Sunday? Who's probably not working on Sunday? Our competition, we are. So I think that's where you really have to look carefully at who your buyer is choosing to work with and take that professional step forward and say, look, I need you, if you want to be successful and buy a home, you're going to have to listen to me, and we got to work with my team, because I know we're going to get you to the finish line. We've been saying this for years. I'm sure you have too.
Yeah.
But it is so much more relevant right now with things as competitive as they are. I hear this often. Well, this buyer couldn't get a hold of their lender. They couldn't do that. And so now I'm encouraging them to talk to you, because I know that you're going to be responsive and help them at a time when they need it.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Yesterday, Aimee and I were just talking about specifically big box lenders, and how sometimes people feel like they have a relationship with these big box lenders because of their investment holdings or whatever it might be. Nobody has a relationship with the JPs or the whoever.
I'm a private client.
Right.
Yes, right.
So when things, one of the value adds, and what I'm hearing here is a couple things. One is obviously working with your team to get to the finish line. We also talked about the emotions at play. So you want to make sure your partner has, let's call it a bedside manner.
Right.
And empathy when it comes to understanding the mental challenges that a buyer may be going through when they get into the market. And also the mental challenges we go through as agents when it comes to working with clients and having to talk them through what's happening.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's where having the experience and the historical perspective to help bring some of that clarity and understand. And when you know that a client is really concerned, we're letting the agent know that look, we had this conversation. I don't know if you knew this, they had a short sale after 2009. Oh, I didn't know. Right. Well, now that really means a lot to what's happening with them emotionally when they're trying to decide, you want me to ask how much over list price? Like, I don't think I can do that. And some buyers, maybe this won't be the right market for them too. And I think agents need to be comfortable to assess that and advise someone. If you are really that concerned, and no matter how many conversations or data points we look at, you can't feel comfortable, then this probably isn't the right market for you either.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I think being able to work with a lender that you're working with all the time, so it's so easy to have that conversation, right? So here's Bob and Betty, and here's the scoop. This is how they are. You have to really be in sync, because then if I'm talking with you, Mike, and you get it because you know my clientele, you're going to know how to navigate that buyer successfully and how to talk with them. And so I think that relationship, back to you saying, the quarterback and navigating it, having the right people that you're working with to really make sure that you are assessing your client's emotional state as well as what their goals really are.
Yep, and I think sharing that with the lending partner too. Like, if you know certain things about a buyer, it's so helpful for us to know that up front, because then we're all speaking with the same voice to that person too, and that's going to lead to a better experience for them. They're going to feel more confident making these decisions.
So let's go back to rates and what we've been seeing just for a second. With rates bouncing around or moving about, there's a program that I know you have at Proper Rate that you can offer to buyers. And if you're not working with Proper Rate, you're not in a market where Proper Rate exists, I encourage you to ask your lender about this. But here at Proper Rate, specifically the lock and roll program, Aimee brought it up last week. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so it's a great program where you can lock in an interest rate for 60, 75, or 90 days without a property address.
Right.
So basically what we do is we approve a buyer, make sure that they can actually qualify for a home, and then we're actually locking in the market rate. There's no add-on to rate. There's no additional cost for it either. There's no fees attached. And what that does is it locks them in. So for example, if you're locked in for 90 days, you have 90 days to find a home, go under contract, and close. Okay?
Got it.
So what that's doing is that's giving buyers and the agents peace of mind of knowing that the buyer is actually not subject to market volatility.
Right.
And so that's just one less pressure off of the buyer as they go out and look.
Yep.
Sure.
And so it's been extremely helpful for our clients over the last 90 days because interest rates have gone up, as you mentioned, quite considerably.
Yeah.
So it just gives people the peace of mind of knowing that that's just one less thing they have to worry about.
Yep.
And question on that, let's say rates go down, so you lock in at a certain rate and then you're getting ready, you put something under contract and the rate goes down from what you locked at. How is there an opportunity to automatically adjust
There is.
lower?
Yeah, it's not automatic, but it is a conversation, what we call a float down.
Okay.
So actually just did one for clients this week who had been locked right after the Federal Reserve meeting. Rates were higher. Now they're under contract, they're closing next month. Good news, rates are a quarter point lower. Let's drop that rate. And that's what makes this so no-brainer, in my opinion. you're protected if rates continue to go up, as they have been, but you have the opportunity to decrease the rate once you're under contract. And again, there's no upfront fee. So, if after 90 days you don't find a home, now you're just subject to the market rate at that time,
Got
which
it.
you would have been if you hadn't even tried.
Right, and it's a competitive advantage, not only for us, but also for the agent, right? Because the agent can say to their buyer, listen, I work with a lender who offers this program that you can lock in the interest rate without a property. Oh, wow, I can really do that. So then it kind of helps lock that buyer in to not only us, but also to the agent too,
Yeah.
because the agent is the one who brought them
Right.
to us and gave them that huge opportunity.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I do want to point out too, Proper Rate is licensed nationwide. So,
Yeah.
and most of the loan officers here are licensed in pretty much the whole At Properties footprint. So,
Yeah.
Excellent.
yep.
Great. All right, well, I want to talk about cash buyers and being competitive with cash buyers, because there's a lot of people out there who are able to, put something in and say they're going to pay all cash. But there are also those buyers that just can't. The reality is they do need to get a mortgage, but they want to be competitive. Are there any programs, or what is it that you do with buyers to make them as competitive as possible when they're in a multi-offer situation and there's cash buyers they're competing with?
Yeah. So luckily, we like to be competitive in helping our clients. So we do offer a proper approval, that's what we call it.
Okay.
So we are going to do a full review, processing, and underwriting as if they're already under contract.
Okay.
So income, assets, everything is verified, so that when we call on the listing agent, when our clients have submitted an offer, we can say they're not just pre-approved, they have been underwritten, they are viable. Yes, we're not concerned about their income or their employment. All the questions that listing agents often have that you see a pre-approval, you're like, how legit is this really, right? So it's been a wonderful talking point for us to contact the listing agents as well and really be proactive. Whether it's a text, an email, some of us have been doing video texts to just
Wow.
let them know that this is how serious the buyer is. And I think that does put them in a really strong position against a cash offer.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the huge advantages it gives a buyer as well is that if they're up against a cash offer, typically cash is king, they can close quickly, right? So we're actually dealing with that objective by already having it approved.
Yep.
So all we need to do is just go ahead and get those items done earlier, like I said, appraisal, contract, title, and then we're ready to close, and we're closing in, 3 weeks.
Yep.
Wow.
So that's
Or less.
typically,
Yep.
or less. So that's a huge advantage.
Yep.
Absolutely. That is competitive with cash. Then.
Yes, absolutely.
So buyers are a lot of times in this market maybe offering a little bit more, knowing that they're already approved and they're up against those cash offers. So
Right. That's great. It's a great thing to know about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, last question before we wrap. Just like agents, you have to stay on top of what's happening. Obviously, both of you are very educated on what's happening in the market. You can articulate it well because you have to. Where do you get your news? So each morning you wake up, what do you do?
So most of us subscribe to a service that's specific for mortgage professionals, and we're getting daily updates. We're also getting text updates and email updates by the hour of how mortgage bonds are trading, because that's
Okay.
what mortgage rates are based on. So unfortunately, as an agent, you can't really access that because we do pay a subscription for that, but that's my absolute go-to. It has been my entire career to really be up to date on trends, what's happening by the moment, what other reports or things are coming up that could impact rates tomorrow and next week, because ultimately we're having to advise clients every day.
Right.
We don't have a crystal ball, but we can certainly look at as much data and information as possible to help them be informed when they make a decision. So that's what I use.
Well, and we also have a capital markets division that updates us daily on what's going on in the market and how it's going to impact us daily. And sometimes, if the market is extremely volatile, we'll get multiple updates via
During the
email
day.
per day, and it's great for us because literally it'll give us all this data, and then at the end it'll advise us as to whether or not you should be advising your clients to lock, like what's going to be happening in the next 24 hours. Here's the meetings that are set up for tomorrow that could impact the market and interest rates. So that's extremely helpful for us on the street, because sometimes we're out and about and can't get access to that information. But if we get that via email,
Yep.
we're able to kind of give that information out. Yeah.
Really great insight, Aimee and Mike. Appreciate it. And I know for us as agents, we're always looking for real-time insight into the markets. You do the same thing. Really important for all of us to stay on top of connecting with our lenders to know what's happening real-time with mortgages. So on that note, I want to give a huge thank you to Aimee and Mike for joining us this morning. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to all of you for tuning in. Make it a great day. And until we see you next Tuesday, get out there, get on it, and remember, you got this.